I would encourage you to support Scott.
This Matt.
That's Matt Birk. He was on the
Mark Birk, yeah.
Check. Oh, here we go. See, I went to Harvard. I figured it out. Majored in microphoning. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Thank you for, thank you for being here. This is pretty incredible. Apparently everybody needed to get out and blow off some steam. That's been a real disappointing day. I don't know what you guys could have been doing today. It's good. Hey, when you're depressed, it's good not to be alone. So it's good that you're all here. Yes, indeed. My name is Matt Birk, and my wife Adriana and I are honored to be honorary co-chairs for Scott Jensen's campaign for governor. I didn't really know what we were getting into tonight. And I mean, literally pulled up, and I was like, oh my gosh, there are a ton of people here, which is awesome, which is really, I think, symbolic of Scott's campaign. The energy and the interest that he has created. I know you guys, everyone here has been a volunteer or attended events, and when people ask me about it, I just say, I can feel something happening. You know, I mean, I can feel it. I can tell you all these reasons why I'm supporting Scott Jensen for governor, but I can feel it in my heart that something different, something special is happening here, which makes it so fun to be a part of, and it wouldn't happen. Yeah, go ahead and clap. It wouldn't be happening without all of us, all of you, because it's obviously a massive team effort. So just real quick, you know, people ask me, because I'm a man of the people, because I'm on Twitter, so you know, people know me, and they always ask me, like, are you really, like, tell me about Scott Jensen, like, are you really supporting Scott Jensen? And I'm like, yes, I am. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, one, because he's a good, decent man, number one. Yes. Number two, I think he's doing this for the right reasons. He's doing it. He's doing it because he wants to serve, because he wants to make Minnesota better. Like, that's kind of the whole idea, right? He doesn't need a job. I don't think he needs a job, okay? And the third reason that we are supporting him is because he can actually win, okay? He can actually win. We all know the statistics, and I was going to say the futility of Republican politicians, candidates in statewide elections did rival the futility of the Detroit Lions until earlier today, but they actually won one, so the Lions are actually better than the Republicans now, which is pretty sad. But I guess it was almost about a year ago. My wife and I were on a flight back from Florida, and my wife, she was a big Scott Jensen fan. I know who Scott Jensen was. I don't watch the YouTube or any of that. And I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm busy on Twitter. I can't watch the YouTube. I can't be on top of everything. And yes, I'm busy tweeting. And she comes back. She goes, "Oh my gosh, Scott Jensen's on this plane." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Well, which one is he?" She's like, "He's the guy with the sweatshirt and the gray hair in the back." This was a flight back from Florida in February. That described every guy on the flight except me, okay? I was the youngest guy on the flight. So I was like, well, I'll wait till the flight's over, because I don't want to go back there and just start asking every guy if they're Scott Jensen. And he comes walking down the way, and I said, "Hey, Scott, I'm Matt Birk." And he goes, "Hey, are you running for governor?" And I said, "No." "Are you?" And he said, "Yes." And I was like, "Great, I want to help." And you know, really glad. I mean, I believe that everything happens for a reason. There aren't any coincidences, and I don't know where this whole crazy journey ends up. But I believe that there's a reason for that. That there's a reason why we're all here, right now, at this moment in time. And so I'm really excited to be here with all of you, and really excited with my wife to be part of Scott's campaign for governor. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the next governor of Minnesota, Dr. Scott Jensen.
Thank heavens he outkicked his coverage with Adriana. Thank you so much for being here. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. What Matt didn't say was, it's all about Esther 4:14. Have you considered that you're in the position you're in for such a time as this? I mean, it would be justifiable if you had stayed home, gone in the bedroom, turned the lights out, and just grieved the way the Vikings lost to the Lions. But you came out here. You wanted to listen to a Norwegian from Sleepy Eye, who it took me until I was 16 years old to realize that it's not a good idea to pick a fight with your older sister who's bigger, smarter, tougher than you, because it doesn't work well. But to what we're about today. A campaign is like nothing else. But it does have 4 seasons to it. And that's where our team is at. That first season is all about exploring. When Mary and I made the decision on Christmas Day in 2020 to run, we said, okay, we're going to have to meet Minnesota. So we launched in March, and for the last 9 months, we've been meeting Minnesota. From March 16th through the state fair, we had a pretty intense experience. We've traveled cities far and wide. And when I told our team that I would go to the state fair 12 days in a row for 6 hours, I had no idea what I was saying, because I honestly didn't think that they would put a booth up, but they did. So I did go 12 days in a row to the state fair, 6 hours a day, and I tell you, I have had more beer, donut holes, cheese curds, and if you get a chance, there's a thing called big fat bacon. Yeah, if you have 2 of those per day, you can raise your cholesterol 140 points in 12 days. But that's what the first season was for our campaign. It was the exploration. And we asked you questions, and you asked us questions. And that moved us into the second season. And the second season really was from the state fair to now. And what is that? That second season is defining what we are about. I mean, we know that Republicans have for a long time been the party of old white guys. But we also know that the Republican Party is on the move. We're recognizing our mistakes. We need to be a bigger tent, just like Reagan said in the 80s. So we have seen our campaign be defined. Yes, for sure. Safety on the streets matters a ton. Student choice has to become a reality. Critical race theory has to be debunked. And we have to have secure elections. We know those things, absolutely. I don't know why in Minnesota when you talk about, can we just have a couple of axioms regarding voting? Well, let's just do this. We'll say, easy to vote, hard to cheat, and if you get caught cheating, spend time in jail so you don't do it twice. That'd be one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to say, let's make sure that every ballot in the box belongs there, and let's not just be focused on stuffing the box. Let's just make sure that we're doing it right. More than 25 states in this union do some form of voter ID, but in Minnesota, when you talk about it, you're called a voter suppressor. I am not interested in suppressing votes. But if you go back to 2000 and 2004, there were a lot of people on the left side screaming. And if you go back to 2020, there's people on the right side screaming. So I think what we can do is, let's just do what we do in medicine. Quit bickering, find the diagnosis, treat the patient, and move on. And that's what we need to do with voter ID. Let's make sure that everybody's got a voter card, and we'll have the state pay for it, and we won't have any more cheating, and then we'll feel good about our elections because it matters.
Yes.
But here's some issues that aren't necessarily a traditional part of maybe the conservative movement. But this has come from millennials, from mama bears and papa bears, from Gen Zs, and from the minority communities we've had a chance to meet with. People are saying, what about consumer protection? What about when we live in a day and age where big pharma and big tech manage and control what we see, what we chew on, what we talk about? How do we deal with those? Somehow we're going to have to re-accelerate the conversation regarding corporate responsibility. We're going to have to say, how do we deal with consumer protection? Because that matters. We could talk about vaccines, but I really don't want to. What I want to say is simply this. Consumers do deserve the right to be protected, particularly when you've got a company like Pfizer making $35 billion this year on just one product, and it's a product they have no liability for, none. They're making more money this year on their vaccine than the entire state Minnesota budget. That matters. You want to know what the Gen Zs and the millennials are asking me about? They're not asking me to talk about climate change. because they recognize as much as we do that climate change is a difficult topic to talk about because it's almost treated like a religion. So let's move it away from the politicians and let's just talk about the issues. Clean water, environment, conservation. This is what Teddy Roosevelt was about. We can lead on these issues. We don't have to run from them. The Republicans have got to step up and say, we're going to have the hard, courageous conversations. That's what we need to do. And you know what we can lead on again? We can lead on people who live in every aspect of life. We can look at people who are in their last years of life, and we can lead for them. We all know someone over the last 22 months who horrifically has had to spend some of those last days, weeks, and months alone. We will not be able to dismiss that. That will be part of our legacy with this pandemic. But we also have to recognize, as Hubert Humphrey said many years ago, the people who live in the twilight of life. The people who weren't born with all the blessings we have. The people that spend their entire day in a wheelchair and need someone at their side to help them empty bowel and bladder. You can't get someone to do that work for $11 an hour. The Republicans need to lead on these issues, and we can. And when we do, we will throw a bigger tent and people will realize we're more than what we were. That's where we have to go. And there's another thing we have to lead on. We have got to lead on the unborn. Many countries in Europe, say 15 weeks is the limit. Why is it so horrible that America wants to have a conversation? One of the most gut-wrenching experiences I had as a resident was when I was delivering a baby, and all of a sudden mom started to bleed horrifically. We had to stop the labor, move her to C-section, did a C-section, and thankfully we were able to resuscitate that kid. Mom's placenta, unknowingly, it slid in front of the, if you will, outlet channel. So there was no way to get the baby out without having a catastrophe. So C-section took care of that. Fast forward, a week later, I'm in the emergency room. I've got a patient. She's bleeding heavily from the uterus. And I find out that what she has is a botched abortion. We had to send her to surgery. We had to do an emergency hysterectomy. She'll never have children, and she's going to have to live with all that went on. To have that cognitive dissonance in my life, it took me months to say, how can I move past that? I have had the pleasure and privilege of delivering 500 kids and fighting tooth and nail to make certain they had a chance. I have never seen an abortion. I don't ever want to see an abortion. But what I do want to do is I want all women to feel protected and feel like they have health care available to them. When we do those kinds of things, then we can start talking about the other problems. But as Republicans, we have got to be sensitive and say, we're going to talk with all people about these things. We're not going to name call, but we are going to protect the unborn. So that's the second season. We're defining who we are. The third season is what's coming right now. And this is the one. This is what we're doing, is we are creating a movement. If you look up movement in the word Webster, it's juggernaut. If you look up juggernaut, it's an inexorable action. That's what we're doing. We are trying to tell Minnesota, lead with us, work with us, because if we can put this race into play, we will touch Kansas and Wisconsin and Michigan and Maine. We can move the needle for the entire nation, which can move the needle for literally the whole world, because we are seeing literally demonstrations and protests around the world that people know that the one key thing is freedom. It has to be freedom. That's what we're wired for. So that's what we're doing. We're creating a movement. So for the next 6 months, you will see the movement. And then we'll move into the last phase of our election before we win. And that's going to be, we need every hand on deck. We need to build bridges like we've never built before. We need to build bridges with labor and say, you know what, if we get you a sizzling economy and good paying jobs, you belong with us. And you know what labor's saying? They're saying, we're with you. We need to go to farmers and say, how has this liberal agenda worked out for you? And you know what they're telling me? Not so well. They say, the ultimate small business person really is a farmer. They belong with us. And when we go to the minority communities and we ask them, what matters most to you? They say the same thing that my wife and I say in our prayers. Faith, family, freedom, less government, and protect the unborn. Yes. We belong in the same camp. That's how we win. That's our path. And we will build bridges in a way that nobody could expect. And then when we win, then we turn around and we say, we are going to aggressively advance our agenda. We are going to get school choice for the kids. We're going to secure elections. We will elevate our Second Amendment rights. We will rewrite emergency powers. we will have the hard discussions on issues of spending. We cannot spend the way we have been. We have had a 75% increase in government spending in the last 11 years, while the average Jane or John Doe on the street have basically benefited about 25%. So the government's had a triple the raise of the average working person. These are the things we'll talk about in the first 100 days once we get elected. And the only way this happens, folks, is because of the incredible energy and the magnetism that you bring to this issue. You know as well as I do that wherever you are, you have to be there. This isn't my challenge. This isn't my team's challenge. This is our challenge together. It has been the privilege of a lifetime for me to earn my patients' trust by letting them know that I will be there. I will advocate for them. I will make the house calls at 7:30 in the morning like I did 2 days ago. I will be there for you. But this time around, I'm not asking to be the voice for just my patients. I'm asking to be the voice for Minnesota. And together, if we put our voices together, we can create history and we can get Minnesota on a sustainable path and once again have Minnesota lead. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy. I guess we're going to the other side. It's like a church and we have 2 services.